Hey guys, so we're working on another '06 BMW. This happens to be a 530xi, so just basically the wagon version. We've done this vehicle before. We're doing a CIC upgrade, so basically the monitor, the iDrive controller, we're adding Apple CarPlay as well as a backup camera. So this one's getting everything. The other one, basically, we just did a CIC upgrade. So he just wanted a more modern nav interface with all the factory functions. This one will have that, plus wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and we're gonna add a backup camera, which is a handle cam. So it basically will look as if it came with the vehicle. On these particular vehicles, it is a little tougher because we have to modify this panel. So this is aluminum, and then it's got a wood veneer. So what we have to do is we have to machine this out, which we have a template or a jig, in order to mount the new iDrive controller. Basically, it's the next generation up from this body style's iDrive controller, but we want it to look as if it came with the vehicle. So we're gonna end up machining this out, and we'll walk you through that whole process. But we want the controller to fit perfectly, and our room for error with the gapping on the controller is probably about that big, about a 1/16. So what we did is we built this template and then this jig in order to be able to machine it here on our router. So we're gonna show you what that takes. So we built this jig to hold it at the right height and to hold it flat, because this panel is not flat. As you can see, it's got a curve to it, but we need to machine on a flat plane. So we do this, and then we follow it, and eventually it will make the perfect cutout for that iDrive controller. All right, so wish me luck. So as you can see, it's quite involved, and we have to take a little bit at a time because we don't want to damage the aluminum. Actually, we don't want to damage the wood piece that's on the other side. So we have to machine a little bit at a time and be very careful, because obviously we get one shot at this. Otherwise, we're buying a new panel and starting over again. So. And there you have it. So now that piece is machined exactly to our template. So if you see, that's basically perfect. All right, so now if we remove all our tape and our glue, now that opening, if I show you the iDrive controller, it is exactly this shape. And the reason we know is because we built this jig to fit the iDrive controller, because it's much easier to practice on a piece of wood than on the actual client's car. So a lot of times shops will try and do it here with like a Dremel and sanding and all that, but if they mess up or make a slight mistake, you'll see it, right? This way, as long as your jig is correct, your opening will be identical. So then you can it can be a repeatable thing where you do it multiple times, or just you have a perfect fit. And again, it's much easier to redo this 2 or 3 times and get that right than it is to redo this 2 or 3 times, because again, this is a one-time shot. If you mess this up, you're ordering another panel and starting over. So to avoid all that, we do it this way. So this is the new iDrive controller. As you can see, that's the shape. Just to show you how close the tolerance is. If you take this off, you have very, very little room for error. So that's why we prefer to do it this way, right? And then on this vehicle, it is quite involved. So we actually have to remove the entire console. So that's the old antiquated iDrive controller, and that's the new modern iDrive controller. But obviously, they do not fit. So what we have to do is we're gonna take this piece, and then we have to trim this part of the console so that we'll be able to mount the new iDrive controller into that same space. Bam! Okay, so now we can mount our iDrive controller, run our wires, it'll fit in there as if it came with the vehicle. So as you can see, it's as close as humanly possible, right? And so now this unit snaps into these clips and it's machined basically, like I said, as close as you can get it. This piece now will live there, and now you have a next generation iDrive controller along with the next generation iDrive CIC screen. So we're doing the backup camera, which is a handle cam. So it replaces the entire assembly and puts a camera, and this is a push button which opens and closes the power lift gate. But what we want to show you is the amount of work it takes to run this wire the right way. So the wires actually run through these metal channels. It's actually this one right here. Let me show you. So when you open the gate, the wire actually runs through this channel, through here, behind the speaker, through a grommet into the vehicle, right? And so it runs up through here, through this channel that's secured by this metal piece, down here, which is, there's a plastic trim, into the boot, through here, and then to the camera. I've seen a lot of places where they just run the wire from here and you have this big piece of wire just like this every time you open the tailgate, and they tell the client that that's the way it's supposed to be, and it's like, no, it's not supposed to be that way. But to do it the right way, it's just very involved, and most shops either aren't willing to or don't know how to accomplish that, right? So we just want to show you this is what it takes to do it the proper way. Just wanted to show you the difference between the old CIC or the old radio and infotainment system versus the new one. So we had a couple clients that call us and ask us, they want to do the upgrade, but they also wanted to make sure what they're getting. So we wanted to actually show you. So this is the original screen that lived in this car. And as you can see, it's a much smaller screen. There's a lot of blank space on the ends, right? That's the actual screen. And if you see the new one, obviously it goes end to end. It's much wider, but more than that, it has a new operating system. So we also swap out the radio portion. So as you can see, it's very similar, but it changes it slightly because there's a new radio. See this pocket? So the new radio, or CIC as they call it, lives from here to here. So that's why this pocket cannot be here, because so we have to swap out this trim piece for it. Lastly is, this is the original iDrive controller, right? So it's very simple. It's got this one dial, and then there's a small button that lives here normally, but we have it removed. But we modify the console and install the new iDrive controller. This allows you to do much more. Now there's two things. When you do a CIC upgrade, just a CIC upgrade, you can technically keep the stock iDrive controller and it will control the new CIC system, so the new radio. But if you actually want to add Apple CarPlay, which this client did, then you must do the iDrive controller modification. Now the reason a lot of shops don't want to do it is because it's very difficult to modify this panel. This panel is actually aluminum finished in a veneer, a wood veneer with a clear over it. You have to be very careful in how you modify it, and you have a very small margin for error. I mean, it's literally like a 1/16 of an inch. It's definitely not for somebody just starting out. You definitely want to take it to somebody that knows what they're doing. Now, the other thing that we get asked is this client also opted for the backup camera. So let me turn the system on here and show you. So BMW, now these are all BMW parts for the CIC, the iDrive controller, the screen. They're all original BMW parts. Okay, so you can control all your functionality as far as, you know, the radio, telephone, navigation, everything works as if it came with the vehicle, right? All we're doing is basically putting a newer hardware and a newer operating system in an older vehicle. So this is the screen and radio and iDrive controller that would have came out in the next generation of BMWs. So you just have more modern radio control, screen, all that good stuff. So we're going to show you. We also added a backup camera, and it's a handle cam. So basically we'll show you that in the back. It replaces the handle, one of the handles to open the lift gate, and adds a camera. So just like if it had came with it from the factory. So when you throw it in reverse, it comes up. Right now the tailgate is up, so we're looking at the sky, but even does the guidelines. So you're able to add the guidelines. Now, to switch to CarPlay, you hold down the menu button, and that in essence toggles over. So it toggles over to the Apple CarPlay, and now I gotta actually pair to it. And the way you connect to it is you go to Bluetooth, CarPlay MMI, you click that, give it a second. Now people think it connects via Bluetooth, but basically what it does is via Bluetooth, it does what's called like a handshake, and then it disconnects from Bluetooth and connects via Wi-Fi, because you cannot stream this much information over Bluetooth. So it's actually streaming it over Wi-Fi, which is better because you have better audio, video, everything is much better over Wi-Fi because it's a much faster and you can have much more bandwidth. On Bluetooth, you're very limited as to how much you can stream or transfer over a Bluetooth connection. So the initial Bluetooth connection is strictly so that it finds the device, does the handshake, and then switches over to Wi-Fi. So to pair the device, you go to settings, enter, you go to connections, pair new device, start search, and then in a second you'll see it come up on my phone as CarPlay MMI. Hands-free, that should be it. There it is. We're going to click that. We're going to give it a second. It's going to pair to Bluetooth. You'll see it connect. Jerry's iPhone. So we're going to hit pair. It's going to ask us to allow the contacts. We're going to allow. Use CarPlay, and then give it a second, and you'll see it say connected. In a second, it'll disconnect. Not connected, and now it should come up on screen. So the second your Bluetooth disconnects, CarPlay is now active. And so if you look, by turning the knob, I can search all my apps. It's all wireless, right? So basically it gives you brand new technology in an older vehicle. So a lot of times, a lot of clients now, the vehicle's paid for, it's low miles, well taken care of. They want new tech, and it's either a brand new car payment, you know, with like a $50,000, $60,000 bill, or we can do this upgrade and you can get all that same thing in a car that you love, except you hate the technology. So we have everything. So we have CarPlay, backup camera, more modern radio, the works.
Visit our website at showtimeaudiochicago.com.